to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo?
Here.
Mr. Parsons?
Here.
Mr. Redding?
Here.
Mrs. Dosa? Here. Mr. George?
Here.
Mr. Mueller?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Okay, everybody's here, no absence. Okay, minutes. Have you all had a chance to look at the minutes? If there's any corrections, changes?
The bottom of the second page is the Fibonacci Farmers Market on the 1st or the 8th?
I believe it's the first.
1st of May, that's the first Sunday.
Yes.
Okay.
Did I
That
state
should
that
be the 1st
incorrectly?
instead of the 8th on the last line.
Oh, first, okay.
Sorry about that.
Any other corrections? Someone like to make a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes as amended.
Motion made by Mr. Redding,
A second.
second made by Mr. Mueller. Motion, the minutes are adopted. Okay. Guest and special events. Which one are we, what are we doing first?
We're gonna.
The President,
swearing.
Officer Brett, or swearing in, okay.
Should be up first.
Oh, officer, you're first, I'm sorry.
Chief's gonna come up and take care of
Okay,
it.
Chief.
Good evening, thank you. We have a couple things to do tonight, and we'll try to make it kind of quick and brief, but we'd like to present first our award for our Officer of the Year for 2021, and this year it will be for Officer Bradley Williams. Bradley, come on up, just right here so family can take some photos. I know they were very interested in making sure they got some great 8x10s of you. So. Brad came to us in December of 2019 as a part-time police officer. He hit the ground running, and in March of 2021, we were able to move him up into the full-time slot. And since then, again, he continues at an amazing pace. He learns a lot, goes to a lot of different classes, applies himself across the board, an excellent community officer, an excellent enforcement officer. An example of that is last year alone, 83 criminal investigations, which resulted in either an arrest or the identification of the suspect that was involved, 95 traffic citations, 42 parking citations, and he's applied himself quite rigorously, I might add, to becoming our armorer. So he has taken specialized courses in firearms and has advanced quite rapidly because he can put these things together and take them apart at a whim, which is always amazing to me, and he knows more about guns and ammunition than probably most people do. So he does quite a few things for our department, and most importantly, I think, is the role of field training officer. So we're going to swear in his recruit here in a few minutes, but as a field training officer, he is the model and the epitome of what a Mount Healthy police officer is supposed to be, or we wouldn't trust him with a fine young man that we trusted him with. But Brad has excelled at that as well, and so we're very fortunate to have him as part of our team. And Mayor, if you do the honors. Congratulations. And so, if we can, we'll go with our new folks. We're going to bring them up one at a time as I read their little bios here. Police Officer Jared Seaman, front and center. Jared is a graduate of Oak Hills High School. He's also earned an Associate of Arts degree from the Cincinnati State University in 2018. recruit seaman received his Ohio Police Officer certification from the Great Oaks Police Academy. Prior to joining our ranks, he worked with the Hamilton County Bailiff's Office and with the College of Mount St. Joe's Police Department. Next is police recruit Brandon Hayek. Brandon is a graduate of Mud Lane High School in Illinois and has earned his Bachelor of Science degree from Western Illinois University. During 2021, recruit Hayek received his Ohio Police Officer certification from Butler Tech and Career Development School. And prior to joining our ranks, recruit Hayek served with the Anchorage, Alaska Correctional Complex. That's their equivalent of their municipal jail, is that correct? City and state. We might also note that recruit Hayek is a honorably discharged Army veteran, having served from 2010 through 2013. Next is our police clerk, Molly Pennington. Unfortunately, Molly is tied up at a daughter's softball game, and I think that speaks volumes, I can't talk tonight, of Molly. And we also have Mayor's Clerk Kathleen Field. Mayor's Clerk Kathleen Field is a graduate of Glenesky High School and has also earned a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Cincinnati. Prior to joining our ranks, Clerk Field served with the Hamilton County Communications Center for 17 years. Clerk Field has received extensive training in police and fire dispatch services and holds several certifications from the Regional Crime Information Center and the Law Enforcement Automated Data System, or LEADS. Mayor, if you would do the honors.
Feel free to face forward so your family get good pictures. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. Or affirm. That I will support the Constitution. And laws. Of the United States of America. The Constitution and laws. Of the state of Ohio. And laws and ordinances of the city of Mount Healthy. I will discharge the duties. Of this office. To which I have been appointed. Without prejudice or bias.
Welcome. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, many thanks.
Okay. La, 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 la,
We'll
la,
make
la.
you guys stay here.
Okay, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot correspondence. Does anybody have any correspondence besides what was in our packages? No?
Could've skipped right over public input.
I was gonna say public input, but nope.
They're all
Right.
gone now.
Committee
On the
reports.
party.
Business Partnership Alliance, Mr. Young.
I have no report. I was not able to go to this last meeting because of work.
Okay. Beautification, that's me. I don't have a report, but I should have one by next meeting. Finance, Mr. Parsons.
No report.
Parks, me, no report. Safety Streets, Mr. Redding.
Just a few items concerning the streets and all the street projects that are going to be going on, and the one that's wrapping up on Adams and Hickman and Elizabeth. That will be started shortly, I'm sure, as soon as all the blacktop companies open back up. I talked to Bill a little bit just before the meeting today, and I think he's got some other things to add. So I'll let him add to that. But more importantly, on safety, you received from the chief today, or in your packet, some of the things that have been going on in the city of Mount Healthy and where they are. I just wanted to touch on one thing in particular with that, and that is about on the second page, it's like the fourth or fifth paragraph down where where he's talking about the issues with checks being stolen out,
Yeah.
out of mailboxes and those kind of items. I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, especially those folks that are watching, because it has become an issue across the state, across the country. Chief told me today that he's guessing that Mount Healthy's probably been impacted to the tune of about $100,000.
Wow.
So there's a lot of issues going on around that. The suggestion is, if you can pay electronically through either Venmo or Apple Pay, or just have bills, pay your bills directly withdrawn out of your checking account, by all means do that. If you're not comfortable doing that, suggest if you're going to put anything in the mail, to take it to the post office. The lobby is open 24/7, and you can drop it actually inside the post office, behind the counter, and it's more secure that way, instead of putting it in the mailboxes. Part of the problem is evidently a mailman was accosted, I guess, or jumped, or whatever the proper term is, and his keys were taken. So those are universal keys, from what I understand. So,
Yeah.
so copies can be made from those. So just be aware of that and pass the word along. And then an additional article that you received in your packet was policing in Hamilton County, Ohio, which got me curious about, what Mount Healthy does, the statistics they provide to the Urban League of Greater Southwestern Ohio. And we actually do produce a lot of these documents and forward them on. The police transparency and data collection, Vince actually, Chief was telling me today that he creates multiple reports, passes them on to Bill for review, and I believe this is all part of it, even right down to traffic stops and all the statistics around traffic stops. Any uses of force are investigated by the sergeants and the chief. It goes up, and unless there is, unless our officers shoot somebody, and then obviously we have, the state comes in and reviews those. Knock on wood, fortunately, we've not had that. But all, again, all uses of force incidents are reviewed. And then we also have a citizens review board that is made up of four folks that are on that group. Hang on one
We have an
second.
odd amount on those.
No, I thought he told me 4, but I could
Oh,
be
really?
wrong.
Okay.
'Cause people were coming on and going off.
Yeah.
He said, hang on, I
Okay.
have the note here. But anyway, we have an active group that reviews those.
We do.
So, and also they receive extensive training in de-escalating events, or when they run into folks, especially, they have online training, and then they have a week-long training that involves de-escalation. But there's also a secondary part to this, and that is for folks with mental health issues. They have additional training for that, and then also contacts for social services that they can bring in to help. So that they go through quite a bit of, again, training and everything, and so far I think it's worked out. We've not had many complaints to the for the police department, or folks reacting to the police department. So if there's any questions, let me know, or let the chief know, and he'll be happy to get it to you. Not everybody, not all the communities I found out participate in this, and I'm happy that we do, and they put a lot of work into this, so good to know.
That's nice.
Other than that, that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Redding. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Redding?
No.
Okay. Schools, Mr. George.
So we are in the final stretch. High school prom is next Saturday, and high school graduation is a little over a month away. I believe it's May 22nd. And Mr. Wolf, correct me if I'm wrong, is that at UC?
Yes. Yeah, 2 o'clock.
Okay, 2 o'clock at UC this year. That's pretty cool. Two things I want to highlight. So every year there's a traditional track meet called the Owls Classic, And this year it's been renamed to the Mount Healthy Owls Vince Turnage Junior Classic. You might remember, it's almost 10 years ago now. Vince graduated the year prior to me, and he was a really good athlete and just a stand-up guy. But anyways, he was murdered 10 years ago, so in honor of him and his memory, that's been renamed in honor of his name. And also, the other day on the 15th, Vince, along with David Montgomery, who is the running back for the Chicago Bears, they were both inducted into the Mount Healthy Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's nice.
That's
That is nice.
nice pick me up for the city. So
Yeah.
that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Mr. George? Okay. Library, Mrs. Dosa.
Nothing new to report.
Okay. Urban Tree, Denise. Nothing, no report. Who does We Thrive? Oh, you know. Okay, I'm sorry.
So, one
Mr.
quick
Wheel.
thing, there's a pop-up food bank on May 11th. It's at Clover Nook. I don't have a time. I'll try to work on that. But it should be at the Clover Nook Apartments. Secondly, the RC track. I guess this thing is kind of spreading like wildfire. The mayor and I were at We Thrive before, at 5 o'clock. I guess there's news of this about 150 miles away or so interest in that. I know that they had said that they wanted to get some rules and regulations. It seems that they have come up with something. It's on our desks here. So I don't know if we have to
No.
implement it or if we have to.
No, it's just for really more for your
Okay,
information.
all right.
FYI.
But other than that, that is it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Mueller? Move on to the mayor's report. Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, couple past things, the one upcoming thing. We had a meeting scheduled, Betty Bullis and I, with Artworks. I think I
Yeah.
might have mentioned it here
You
before.
did.
We're gonna take them on a walking tour of the city and try to scout out locations to do a mural or murals. And unfortunately, it was canceled. So it was it was Friday, it's past Friday. So that was canceled, it's gonna be rescheduled. We don't have a date yet, so I will let you know when that's rescheduled. And the preliminary one is really just for them. They can come out and kind of see the buildings in town and look at good ideas. And then at that point, I would talk to Bill, talk to the property owners, and try to figure out who would want to do it. And then we would talk about plans. So very preliminary at this point. But they are interested in doing a project in the city. So hopefully we get that rescheduled soon. Another event, which was really exciting, really good collaboration between businesses, schools, city, community, kind of everybody. So there are a bunch of different groups that have poetry projects around town. Desiree Hosley lives at Lake of the Woods. She's a resident. She's also a pretty well-known poet regionally. She's known as the Silent Poet. And she's been holding open mics at the coffee shop every month or every other month. And it's been gaining a little bit of a following. On top of that, Elements, which is the poetry and hip-hop nonprofit downtown, started in 2001. They now have been collaborating at the schools and are teaching a poetry class there. We had a student, Cameron Gehring, who actually got into poetry for the first time in his life this year. He won the competition at our school, went on to districts, regionals, actually went to the state championship up in Columbus and finished second in the
Oh,
state.
wow. That's great.
Yeah, second year of our program, first year this kid's been doing this. So that's been going on. Tick Farm has a group that does poetry as well. And Kim Rollins who owns Square Mile, invited all of them to the open mic to kind of bring everybody's efforts together. So I went up Saturday night and I gave Cameron a 2022 Youth Poet Laureate for the city, and he was thrilled by it. And I think it's something that I'll talk to council about, but I think it's something that might be neat to formalize here. You know, have one for adults, one for youth. We kind of did a youth one, and it's amazing how big this community has grown just organically. So it's supporting our business uptown. The schools are involved. Tick Farm's involved. I got involved with it just this past week. So it's really neat to see kind of every aspect you know, from businesses, schools, city, and nonprofits all getting together. There were about 50 people there, which for that place was tight.
I was
People
gonna
ended
say.
up sitting outside and kind of waiting their turn to come in. It was full 2 hours. It's really neat to see, and really neat to see just kind of organically happen. So
that is.
keep your eye out. I don't know when the next one will be scheduled, but I'll share it with you when I find out. Then the last thing I want to share is the Historical Society has been working really hard on this. Mount Healthy has a pretty strong concentration of Sears kit homes, which are homes you could literally order out of the Sears catalog, and they deliver the parts and have it assembled for you. Yeah, and there's a lot of them in Mount Healthy. So they have been working on an authoritative list of all the Sears Kits homes in Mount Healthy and compiling it so that somebody can look into this and do more research. They're actually gonna have walking tours on April 30th. You do have to register ahead of time. It is a $20 registration fee. They are going to start at 10 a.m. and then again at 10:30 a.m. It sounds like the walking tours are about an hour and a half long. They're gonna meet at the museum center. Like I said, it's $20 a person, but you can register on their website. So you just sign up there for which slot you want, and you pay right online. Sounds like a neat event. I'm hoping I can go. My son has a track meet, but I'm trying to figure that out. So it's pretty neat, pretty unique to our area. I know Sears kits were sold everywhere, but Mount Healthy was kind of booming as Sears kit homes were booming, so we happen to have a lot of them. So that's a pretty neat event coming up. Again, April 30th, 10 a.m. is the first one. You can register online. And other than that, with the RC Raceway, it's really looking great. I really recommend you go down there and look at it. They do have big ideas with it, and they requested from We Thrive. It looks like We Thrive is now going to purchase an RC car to raffle off. There weren't enough people at our meeting tonight to approve it, but we should by the next one. They're trying to look at some ways to fundraise. So it looks pretty neat. I recommend everybody go down there.
Oh, I'd like to see it.
And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the mayor? Move on to the city manager's report, Mr. Coker.
I'll just scratch the last thing off the list. So they did it on the RC track. They did include the rules that they're working on. One of the things that they are talking about is just to have these battery operated, not gas, just for now. And you know, I don't know much about this, but I said, hey, I'll bring that up, that's the direction you're going in, and that way, you know, everybody knows, hey, you know, we're just trying to put everything together to get this thing moving. So, but that's their plan right now. But yeah, they're excited and doing a lot of things on that. In your packet, there was we've been talking about deer so much lately, and this came across. I got an email on it, and Greg sent, Justin's going to this, and then actually Joe had asked me about it as well, and if anybody else is interested, we can get them there. But I think it's just good, like I said, the more people we hear and understand, the more we can try to do this, because it's definitely a lot of deer in Mount Hill. We've had beavers, we've had deer, we have a lot of wildlife that you would never thought you would have in an urban setting.
Coyote, fox.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, that was in your packet. If you're interested, the city will pay for it. Just let us know. I did confirm that the bid for Compton is going to go out in June. So they're working on that, and we'll go out to bid on that in June. So hopefully get it awarded and get that project underway. I know they had a meeting for today that our JMA was involved with the next phase of this project, and kind of how this reimbursement's going to work. It's going to be a reimbursement for the sort of projects, so we'll have that money in and out kind of a thing. So, which I'm sure we'll always have lag between one year to the next, but Melanie does a great job of tracking all that stuff. So that's definitely moving forward. Like Joe mentioned, that Rackenballer is back, getting ready to start up, to finish off the project down on Adams, Hickman, and Elizabeth. Greg was talking to me the other day about there are some areas that we definitely want them to look at. There's an area right west of Adams that was holding some water, so now's the right time to try to make sure that we got all that right before they put that final coat on, so that will be starting back up. In the packet also was, this has been going on for a long time, probably several new council members. For a lot of us, we talked a lot about 1596 Compton Road or the old tire store or different things, and that was for some of you that weren't on council, there was a small postage stamp lot up there that had a gas station at one time. I think Ross's dad he always talked about his dad worked there, whatever. And it had some contamination on the site, and it was a concern, became problematic for us. An existing business uptown was trying to get a loan, and it was brought into question, so we started doing some sampling at our cost, but then we were able and there was some particles that came in, so they made us do further testing. We partnered with the port, and they've done a great job. They funded all this. They got grants for us, and it sounds like we're going to get the all clear on it. That report was in there, which would be great. That will be then on file with Buster. Then if we wanted to do anything with that, I don't know what we would do with it. It's such a small spot, but there has been a few businesses that expressed possibly some interest in that for parking for their adjacent business. So, but we got to get the all clear first, and I wouldn't want to transfer that knowing what we had those issues there. So hopefully that's going to be wrapped up here before long. And then just a couple things on your, one other thing just to kind of just bring council up and touch on. The chief came to me the other day. We get, there's temporary liquor permits. Actually, the city gets one for 4th of July, 3rd of July. A lot of the churches sometimes for their festivals, it's just a temporary thing. Obviously, they don't have liquor permits. And that's typically how those work. They're non-for-profit type of, a couple-day event, one-day event, however it is. We had the business, the Jamaican restaurant, had put in for a request, which is kind of unusual. Obviously, they don't have a liquor license. And the chief came to me and said, in there, I think they're targeting that June 19th, Juneteenth weekend. The chief said to me, he said, typically I deny these because usually these are set up for not-for-profit. A lot of times you can, the other businesses that have the permits and do all the work and pay all that money, sometimes that they'll get upset if you start allowing a lot of businesses that just do these temporaries. It's only supposed to happen a couple times a year. But you could really go down, when the mayor and I were kind of kicking this around, because we want to try to be open-minded about things and try to listen and see, we want to help businesses do what we can. But you could go down a rabbit hole with every business uptown, whether it's a barbershop or a whoever, I want to do another liquor permit, and then if you start to allow it, then it starts to become difficult to say yes and no to different businesses. So I think that's what I asked him to get more information about the event, what they're trying to do. I haven't received anything back yet, but I'm just kind of letting you know we're inclined to reject it. But I wanted to throw it out there and get any feedback that you might have, and we'll go from there. Obviously, if I always encourage people to come up if they don't like my decisions, or if they don't like where we're going after we've had a chance to kind of communicate and vet it with them. So we'll see where that goes. But I just kind of wanted to put it out there for you that we're kind of maybe looking at denying that, and then we'll take it from there. Then like the mayor said, he was Saturday night when you were up there, they weren't even open. I know they're not open a whole lot, but anyway, we'll see how that goes.
This is for the Caribbean restaurant? And do they want to?
I said Jamaican, it's Caribbean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Do they want Adora, or they just want to be able to sell inside?
They want to just, they're submitting to the state, like what we do, same permit application that says, hey, we need a temporary liquor license for this event. And typically those have been issued, and like Chief's experience being in Cincinnati for years and years, are usually for a special event, because they want us involved with it too, because if they're not used to handling, these types of events, a lot of times, and it does, the police get involved sometimes, I keep pointing this way, but I'm talking about Assumption, they're very much involved with police when they have their different events. So that's kind of why the police are tied into it. So it's just I think it's up to a 3-day temporary alcohol permit you can get for a couple occasions a year. And then the last thing there was, you guys took a first reading on it. There was the 2 settlement agreements that we were on your desk late yet last time. You've had a chance to review them. We did tweak them a little bit, and that's why you have a second a copy on your desk tonight. And that is, we just put a 3-year period in there, so that they have to do this. So it's just not an ongoing thing, just clarity, for that. And then there was a typo on the one, take a shot one, I think had a typo on the last page, so we corrected that one as well. So we have that for consideration for later. And that's all I have.
Have you heard anything about the,
First readings, yeah.
the people that wanted to do the fireworks? Did that just get denied?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't deny it. I said I was going to, talk to you guys, and I haven't heard back.
Okay, that's fine.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know if
Yeah.
they've responded at all.
Right, no.
So, no big deal.
Okay. Is that it?
That's all I have.
Any questions? Okay. Finance Director, I won't forget you, Mr. Bauer.
Thank you.
You could tell Ross that.
March is in your packets. Let me know if you have questions.
No, everything look good? Okay, if there aren't any questions, we're gonna move on to we have some second readings of some resolutions. Okay, the first one is Resolution 22-1181. Resolution approving participation in Region Number 2 governance structure under the One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding. We had our first reading. Any questions, discussions?
That's the opioid one, right? Yeah. It's just, again, we're just trying to keep our position in line for any settlement dollars that come through.
Yeah. Okay. Council's pleasure.
I make a motion to adopt Resolution 22-1181.
Motion made by Mr. Parsons, seconded by Mr. Redding. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Mueller?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Okay, Resolution 22-1181 passed 7-0. Next is Resolution 22-1182. Emergency resolution withdrawing the city's objections to the renewal of the liquor control license for the business located at 7710 Hamilton Avenue, DBA Vince's Other Place, LLC, and authorizing execution of settlement agreement.
7701.
Did I say, what did I say? 7701. I'm dyslexic.
It's hard to mix those first two numbers up, right? 77.
I don't know.
Questions?
Questions?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 22-1182.
Okay, a motion was made to adopt by Mr. Mueller,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. George. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Mueller?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Resolution 22-1182 is adopted 7-0. Next, second reading is Resolution 22-1183, emergency resolution withdrawing the city's objections to the renewal of the liquor control license for the business located at 1357 Compton Road, DBA Take a Shot LLC, and authorizing execution of settlement agreement.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-1183.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Redding, seconded by Ms. Dosa. I thought I saw your hand. Did it?
Yes.
Wasn't a question, okay. Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Stosa,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Mr. Mueller,
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Resolution 22-1183, it's passed 7-0, or adopted, I should say. Then we have a new first reading resolution, and the number is 22-1184. It's a resolution adopting standard allowances for expenditures from American Rescue Plan Act funds.
So the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, is very similar to the CARES Act that we had in 2020, where we basically got COVID money related to COVID impact from the federal government. So this is not new money, this is more just administrative. So back, it might be a year ago now, we were earmarked for over $700,000 from the federal government. We've received half of that payment, and we'll get the next half, hopefully this summer. All this is saying is that we'll abide by the rules of spending it, and it'll be within their parameters that they set. So I mean, we've basically known about this for 9 to 12 months. It's not really anything new. It's just a long-winded way of saying, all the different ways that you can use it. I guess if anyone's curious, it's item C for the provision of government services. On the second page, that's the rationale that we're using to use the COVID money. It is due by the end of the month.
That's what I was just gonna ask, is it emergency or?
If we could do it in one vote, that would be great.
You have listed the ambulance on here. Do we need to list anything
I think
major that we
as,
wanna-
as we spend it, they'll want us to come up with new ones. So I think during housekeeping at the end of the year, whatever we've spent, I'll present a new one that says, here's the list of items we used for COVID funds.
We're planning to spend about $350,000 on Compton Road, right?
It's not COVID money.
Why not? Road repair and
I mean, we could, but,
building and maintenance,
but we got sort of funds to cover that project.
our part.
There's no our part.
Compton Road, we're paying nothing?
No.
Oh, okay, I thought it was an 80-20. All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Hamilton Avenue.
Well, that
We have
works.
some.
That only got 165,000.
out of our COVID funds, I think technically we did 80,000 to the ambulance, and the rest we've put to payroll for now. I mean, you're right, we could use it for kind of whatever we want.
We've been using it for payroll, yeah.
That's how we've listed it in the budget, yeah.
Okay. We may want to move a little of that here
Sure.
and there.
Sure. Well, I think we're finally getting some little bit of clarity.
Right.
Spent a lot of time talking about this at one point when there wasn't a lot of clarity, so, so yeah, we can,
Well, we had to report, we were supposed to report, we thought, and then rule came out that was only if you were over a certain amount of money, at the $1 million that's mentioned in here, if you received over $1 million? Or was it more than that?
I can't remember what I mean, we were under the threshold, I can't remember exactly
under
what it
the
was.
threshold, yeah.
So I did report, actually just tonight, it was due by the end of this month, but if we had been over that threshold, we would have had to report earlier and more often. Or just once a year now.
And the threshold was $1 million, or some, in that area?
If you were above that, you just had
Okay.
more
And we're only,
extensive reporting requirements. Since
and
we're
we're only
under it.
receiving about 700 or so?
and I think it was
Okay.
more than $1 million.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it might have been 5 or 10 million.
Oh, okay.
I think it was
All
up
right.
there.
Because we weren't even close, because
Yeah.
with 700 something, that would have made it close. I remember we were
Yeah.
well below it.
Okay.
I appreciate the detail because some of the news that is coming out on CARES Act dollars is the, for lack of a better term, the embezzlement around that has just been unbelievable, the
Right.
theft. So I appreciate, taking care of the details.
No problem.
So you say this has to be approved by the end of the month?
So
you have to-
tonight.
And you have to report by something?
So I have done the reporting, it's just going to a portal, and, I mean, we haven't spent any of the money yet, but this in particular, they wanted passed by the end of this month.
Okay.
Which would have to be an emergency, because this is our last meeting this month.
If everyone's
Unless we
all
have a
right,
special.
I'll make a motion to waive the 2 reading rule for resolution number 22 1184.
Okay, Mr. George made a motion to suspend the two reading rule.
Second that.
Seconded by Mr. Redding. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Mueller?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Okay, Resolution 22-1184 has been suspended, 7-0.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 22-1184.
Mr. Parsons made a motion to adopt,
Second.
and Ms. Dosa seconded. Mrs. Dosa, sorry. Roll call, sorry.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Mueller?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Resolution 22-1184 has been adopted, 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
old business. Anybody have any old business?
I'll just, go ahead.
Any news on the new Red Line property owners at all?
No, although we did, well, I had inquired about it, then Mr. Parsons had sent me an email, and the holdup for it was that the court had to approve the sale.
Oh,
So
okay.
it took a while.
All right.
But it was to be recorded, I believe, this month. So
Okay.
we should soon find out. Ownership, maybe. It might just be an LLC that we have no detail on. But that's why the business owner hasn't, I'm sure, until it was officially approved and now recorded. Hopefully they'll engage us, but we haven't heard anything.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You
Yeah.
had something? Oh,
I was just going to follow up on the Mr. Osterday that
Yes.
was in here. We're having a meeting finally, on Thursday morning, with some of the concerned residents down there and the business owner. Mr. Osterday has come in and talked to me since the meeting, and things have improved greatly, but we're just kind of wanting to just finalize and get everybody on the same page down there, so that will be happening.
no.
And let me also say, we didn't really say it that night, Bill had already, before that meeting, met with the property owner in question and tried to hash out some stuff. So Bill was working hard behind the scenes on that before that meeting, so
I believe
I just
that.
want to make sure Bill gets credit for that.
Oh,
Yeah,
That did
I didn't
happen.
doubt
I
it.
believe that, yeah.
We had,
Yeah, and his defense that he put up, yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta give it time, right? I mean,
I mean-
if it's only a day or two, I mean, you haven't had time
And
to
you
do
know
anything
what,
yet.
Dave's a good guy.
Oh,
We
yeah,
met
for
and
sure.
talked, but
Mhm.
that's just one thing. It just, because we could have sat and listened for him for a half an hour, and then you guys would have looked at me and said, "Okay, Bill, what are we going to do?" Right?
no,
And that's what I try to encourage people. It's like, look, this is a great setting for. Let us try to work it out administratively. If we can't do it, I encourage you to come up to council, and then we can hash it out. But there's no sense in hashing it out before we even had an opportunity. He's totally on board. I think we have a good resolution back there anyway, and hopefully it's a done deal. I mean, that there's been a business on that site for years, but hey, none of us live right next to it. I understand. So you gotta kind of work your way through those things.
so, and to add to that, there's other situations in the city where we have residential property where people ran businesses and, maybe they were good stewards at one time and it's kind of going off the correct path. So, it can become an issue rather quickly. So,
Okay. Mr. Redding, you had something?
And
Yes.
nobody wants to deal with it until it's in their backyard, and then they want the city to deal with it. And I always say, when the city gets involved, there's usually a winner and a loser, and, it's best to try to work these things out. You guys gotta live next to each other. It's best there. If we get involved, usually it becomes, but we're not, at this point, we're just kind of facilitating, so hopefully we got a solution.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Mr. Redding?
so under old business, I don't know, it's been quite a few meetings ago where the Port Authority came and gave us an update. And specifically, one of those items was about, say, large private equity companies buying up houses and turning them into rent-to-own or just flat-out rental properties. So there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about that. I was unable to, I don't subscribe to the Wall Street Journal, so I gotta wait till I can get a version of it, but cities are fighting back I did get a highlight of it, so I will read that further and let you know what it says. If I can get a copy of it, I'll get a copy of it.
Just heads up to get around the paywall, if you have a library card,
Oh, yeah, I know,
This is
it's there.
legal.
I just haven't had a chance to get up there.
you're on their website and they have subscriptions for you.
Yeah, that's good to know.
You know,
I
interesting.
was gonna claim I was a student, but
Yeah.
As long as you have a
Hard- it
Hamilton
didn't-
County public, as long as you have a Hamilton County Public Library card, you can go on their website and they have newspapers that you can read.
yep, and
And the big
thank
ones are
goodness
all
I
there.
have one, so.
Nice.
It's good.
We,
do too.
just kind of a little bit of follow-up, meet with Bill, obviously, and he's constantly always updating me on our problem properties and different things, and, a lot of us know Mr. Perkins, but recently he's hired a maintenance person that's he's at least has a point of contact, and he said has been very good, so knock on wood. And he also, and I forget the numbers, it's quite concerning, the number of, Vinebrook is probably
Yes.
what that article is about, and how many properties they own, not only Mount Healthy, I think twice as many North College Hill, doesn't really matter, but they're everywhere. Coleraine, huge issue. But Bill happened to mention that they are obviously, they're under a lot of heat right now, and they've restructured how they're doing business. And again, Bill has a local point of contact
good.
now, and they have been fairly responsive. Still not an ideal situation, but those are just kind of slight glimmers of good news of at least, hey, we can, if we got somewhere to go, a lot of times that's,
Yes.
Bill spends a lot of his times just going down, just paths that are just empty. So, but anyway, that was two things Bill had recently brought up to me.
Good, good.
I've received a couple of unsolicited letters offering to come in for 10 minutes, make me a cash offer as is, close within 30 days, and, just in the mail, my name on it and my address.
I don't know how they get those numbers. My son gets calls for them too. Like, yeah, right.
Here,
I might sell it one day. Yeah.
Any other old business? Any new business? No? I'm not doing it. Somebody.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Adjourn the meeting. Mr. Redding made a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead.
I'll second.
Mr. Young seconded. All those in favor? Aye. I forgot to say aye. Opposed? No. When you die, if somebody said that.
Then what are we supposed to do?
Maybe when I retire.